So, hi everyone, welcome to AO Games Talk. First episode, I am your host, Elay. I am as Web2 VC, currently exploring Web3. I'm super excited to be the host for this series. And this series is hosted by AO Games, which is dedicated to building a gaming consumer layer for AO, the computer, with a mission to bring 200 million gamers worldwide into the world of Web3 gaming on AO. So today we have invited Patrick Skinner, the lead developer relations from Forward Research team at Arweave. Patrick, nice to meet you here. Could you please give everyone an introduction about yourself? How do you start your career in Web3? Because I know you used to work in US Army, right? And that's quite a big transition.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah,
kind of
so
opportunity has led you to join AO, and what are you currently building for AO?
yeah, so hey everybody, I'm the lead DevRel for Forward Research and Arweave, and I definitely had a much, I guess, a different path of the typical engineer that comes into Web3. Most people come in either through some sort of computer science experience, maybe they went to some sort of Web3 meetup or something like that. But for me, I had to make kind of a crazy transition from the world of the U.S. military. I was a paratrooper medic, and I specialized in mass casualty coordination, and at that time it was kind of a wild time during when I was in the military. In about 2010 was actually the mass cap. That was kind of a crazy experience, but then I experienced for the first time like human trafficking and things like that, and having to deal with human trafficking attempts. And so I was because of all the attempts and everything with like kids and stuff, I decided that I wanted to kind of put more focus on that. So I tried to make some sort of transition in the military to focus on like human trafficking, but I really couldn't find anything. So I got out of the military and joined a private team that did that kind of work. And so it was a human trafficking interdiction team. I also did a lot of teaching for combat medicine in the Middle East. And at that time, that's when I realized, man, most counterfeit products, a lot of people think that the counterfeit products are just like Gucci bags or anything like that, but it could be like pharmaceutical drugs and things like that. I ended up discovering that the number one revenue source for a lot of human trafficking is for counterfeit products, either the production of counterfeit products or the trafficking of counterfeit products. People think it's either drugs or sex trafficking or whatever it is, and it's actually number one thing is counterfeit products. Is kind of wild. And so people don't realize how much of an impact that has on humans, is counterfeit products. So with that discovery, I told myself, if I could build something that could, cut off the revenue source of counterfeit products, I would do that. And lo and behold, my wife and I wanted to go into a safer career, because it's not exactly a very safe career doing that kind of stuff. And so I kind of found myself doing software engineering and studying software engineering. So fast forward 5 years from there, I discovered Arweave right about late 2020. Things are still going good. We didn't hit that bear market yet, and super interested in everything that was going on in the Web3 space. And I saw an article that said something to the fact of like using NFTs to authenticate physical products, and I was like, that's it. People wouldn't realize or be able to quickly realize that what they're buying is a counterfeit, and they'll be able to see the level of damage that could be done when they're buying the counterfeit products. So that's kind of the thing I started building. Bear market hit, couldn't raise any money on the project or anything like that. It became very difficult. Discovered Developer DAO, started working on like hackathons and stuff like that. I won a couple at the combination of like, one of my original loves is like teaching. I love teaching medicine, but then I also just like helping people as much as I can. And so kind of put the two things together, where it's like enjoying the coding experience, but also teaching others about coding and things like that. And I found myself as a DevRel at that point. Didn't even know that there was a title for that.
Mm.
And I went through a program called DevRel Uni, and that's pretty much history from there. I started working as a DevRel, and I worked at a couple different companies, but I ended up later finding myself in the Arweave ecosystem, and that's where I am now.
Right. So, what attracts you to like AO ecosystem then? Like, why do you want to work for AO?
Yeah, so AO is an amazing product in itself because a lot of things that I was running into myself when I was originally building an Arweave ecosystem, trying to do this whole, build for good kind of thing. Um, the the applications of like being able to deploy, your static web pages to store data and everything like that is
Hmm.
amazing. But
Right.
the interoperability of the two was kind of missing there. And AO really answers a lot of questions that or a lot of problems that we had in the Arweave ecosystem before. So, that virtual machine, the parallel processing, that it's an amazing thing to have something like that because I feel like it completes everything that Arweave needed. Everything tended to, as much as I loved Arweave then, things tend to be slow. Sometimes you would have some issues, sometimes things would work. But in this case, it was very much about the new development of like the interoperability between Arweave, AO, being able to quickly call data, being able to run parallel processes, build, autonomous agents and things like that. And so it's an unlock not just for faster processing, but it's an unlock for gaming. It's an unlock for AI. It's an unlock for so many different things. And so, I'm really, really excited to be working on AI.
Yeah. So, from my understanding, that AO is like a supercomputer, right? Like built on top of Arweave's data storage layer, and it become quite popular
Mhm.
among developers like since it launched. So, could you please explain more, like what exactly is AO and what is the relationship between Arweave and AO?
Yeah, so AO is, like I said, it's a virtual machine, but it runs with parallel processing. You don't have to deal with like congruency issues that come with like congruency, and because even in congruency, yes, you can run processes fairly simultaneously with things, but at some point you're going to reach a bottleneck, and so with the parallel processing, everything, it just makes it extremely scalable.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of scalability that comes with the Arweave's virtual machine that is AO. Another part too is its ability to be honestly very fast, and we do that simply because, or we have that capability because AO, even though with the speed, we can maintain the traditional like smart contract capabilities. But we do it through a completely different consensus process that you would normally see in other uh, virtual machines or decentralized virtual machines of any sort. We use what's called like a holographic state management, which what that means is instead of like trying to validate or reach a consensus on a set of computation, what we do is we actually compare just a single process to the logs that are associated to the two. And by doing that, it actually makes things be able to run significantly faster because the other consensus mechanism is what really slows things down, and you end up getting a lot of lower TPS. And
Mm.
so that's kind of how it runs so quickly. Now, the other part is like, what is a connection of like AO to Arweave?
Yeah.
So AO has that capability or sorry, AO has that ability to be able to run on Arweave simply because the Arweave infrastructure just happens to be kind of built perfectly for, running a virtual machine like this. You have multiple nodes, and we basically use those nodes to be able to partition basically the computation capabilities using what's called computation units or
Mm.
CUs is what we like to call it. And so anytime you have a process and it's running any type of computation, we take basically the size of that computation, and then based on the available computation from several queues, we will actually have that process so that it can continue to process in parallel. And so that's kind of how everything continues to run very quickly, and it has what we like to call horizontal scalability. So it's really impressive machine, and that's why so many engineers are really interested in building on AO.
Right. So in your opinion, like what are the key factors for AO to attract like such a great amount of users and developers, and what are the unique experience that AO will offer to its developers?
Number one is definitely barrier of entry. Barrier of entry is very low. And so you can be somebody that's fairly new to either the gaming industry or fairly new to, just Arweave in general. And you can still pretty much learn how to build on AO within the matter of a couple days, even maybe a few hours. We use what's called a Lua language, which anytime you like Google, how to code in Lua, you're gonna get like Roblox tutorials and stuff. And it's funny because like even you got kids that are between the ages of like 9 and 13 that are learning Lua so that they can modify their gaming experience. And so that's how easy it is to be able to learn Lua. The other element is there's a lot of familiarity aside from that. So Arweave, most infrastructure you can build with, simply with JavaScript or TypeScript, and you can pretty much do the same with our library called AO Connect. So at the point where you're using Lua and you're also using AO Connect, there's a lot of familiarity for engineers, and it's easy for them to kind of jump in and just start building right away.
Right. So how do you usually like engage with developers for them to like onboard to the AO ecosystem, especially those like who are just very new to the AO ecosystem? Like what do you do like to help them to onboard and engage them?
Yeah. So it really depends. Every engineer, depending on whether they vary geographically, or if they are different types of engineers or anything like that, or maybe they'd want to possibly build a specific project. You obviously have to kind of meet them at their level. I've been on a 3-week tour through Asia, and basically not only just giving technical workshops on AO, but I'm also getting to meet a lot of these engineers and really level with them to see exactly what they need and what they want.
Right.
I've discovered that like communicating with engineers either in China or Japan, there's obviously just different ways to communicate, and so I've kind of really learned how to break the ice with many engineers in different geographical regions. Now, the other part too is just understanding what they want to build, and then kind of helping them and guiding them through that direction, or to that direction, that with the various tools that exist inside of the Arweave ecosystem. So the biggest thing is really just understanding what is wanted, what is needed, and then being able to level with them in a way that honestly, they're comfortable with communicating in their own way. So I think the most difficult part is like obviously communicating online can be very asynchronous, and you really don't have a full read as to what that person either wants or needs. So being able to get with them at live events is probably one of the most important things you can do.
So what do they need then? Like, can you tell us like regarding different countries, like maybe they have different needs for AO?
It really depends on the region. I would say the initial demand is understanding what AO is and how it differs from various other projects, or other tools. And that's kind of the big thing that I get when I do Q&A after a workshop or anything like that. Most of the Q&A is like, well, how does AO compare to this other product? And so we'll go through some comparisons and everything. And it's not even me saying, oh, we're better because of this or anything like that. There's so many amazing tools and projects out there that by no means am I trying to direct anybody away from other other tools. The big thing is, really understanding what that tool is intended for, really understanding what they're trying to build, and maybe that tool is exactly what they need versus AO, and that's totally fine. But at the end of the day, it's just really helping them understand how how it differs from other projects. I think it's simply because there's a lot of noise right now in Web3. There's so many options, and there's so many projects and protocols and teams and stuff like that that are fighting for developer attention as much as they can. And so it's really all about leveling with them and just helping them understand, or us understanding what they need, and doing the best we can to, provide that. So that's pretty much the best way to do it.
Right. So what are the main projects right now in the AO ecosystem that you can maybe share some examples for us?
Man, okay. There's quite a few
Okay.
projects, so definitely couldn't rattle them all off because I know we're well over 50 different projects at this point, even though we're only about 7 months into testnet. And so, I mean, things are coming super fast, building very, very quickly. Just in this week alone, I believe Outprog and his team over at Evervision, they actually produced a Go library. So if you like, if you like coding in Golang or anything like that, then it's that's available now. We have, let's see, a lot of AI projects are coming up now that we have Llama 3 that's operational on AO. So and then I think there's also the crossroad of AI and Web3 gaming that's happening as well. We have a project called Llama Land. Actually, I've been traveling with Elliot for the last 3 cities, I think, and he's been giving demos on Llama Land, which is it's a Web3 game or AO game, but it also, the NPC characters themselves are actually ran by Llama 3, and so it's kind of a nice crossroad to see the AI crossover with gaming, but on a fully decentralized platform. So it's
Right.
it's all on chain. It's really, really interesting. So other than that, I mean, there's so many amazing DeFi projects, AI projects. There's new bridges, Bazaar's doing some great stuff in their marketplace. It's really hard to keep up with it all. I would recommend, if you really want to keep up with it, I'm starting again. Well, I have a show called the Testnet Show, and I do it weekly. And it's basically just weekly updates on what's happening in the ecosystem, because I mean, and I need to do it weekly, sometimes twice a week, because there are so many ecosystem updates that come out.
Super fast, right?
Yeah.
So I also know like AO Games is also like building the gaming consumer layer for AO, right? The computer. And currently they're building like the first game engine on AO called Auto Engine version 1, right? To help more like developers to enter the AO ecosystem. So probably it won't be too long before we see like an angry burst moment for AO. I think probably games are the best way for users and developers to understand the new ecosystem technology. So since AO fully offer fully like decentralized on-chain experience and high-speed parallel computing, what are your expectations for the future of on-chain games on AO?
So one of the things that I think I love so much about AO games in general is the fact that I just spent a couple days at the Asia Blockchain Summit, and I hate to say it this way, but I was wildly unimpressed because I really value what Web3 is supposed to be about, what it's all about. And I looked around at this summit, and they say Web3 games, but to be perfectly honest, most of them are just Web 2.2. And I really can't even say it's 2.5, because I mean, maybe the token in the game is on chain, and maybe the
Mm. So
some of
everything's
the
on
items are
chain,
NFTs or
Web3.
something like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I
Mm.
mean, there's nothing that's really fully Web3.
Mm.
Not at all.
Mm.
And so like, how do we call those Web3 games when there's only really just like one or two components of the game that are really Web3? Now with
Mm.
AO games, it's amazing because I mean, up, down, left, right is all on chain, and it's really, really amazing. Seeing Llama Land and being able to like load in the game and move around and interact with other players, as well as interact with these NPCs that are ran by an on-chain LLM is just like that's amazing. And there's really very little that's like that, if
Mm.
anything. And so I have some really big aspirations and hopes for the AO Games team, and with Portal, Portal Engine and everything like that. I spent quite a bit of time with the AO Games team during my travels, and
Mm.
so I'm super excited to see what comes next from the team. I was very impressed with what they have shown me so far, and I'm looking forward to see what they come out with.
Yeah, that sounds great. Oh, I think we don't have like much time left, so I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
ask final question. So what are the AO Futures plans and what is your expectation for it?
AO future plans. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We have so many verticals that we're focusing on. I think the biggest thing is I would say my plans as far as what's going on in AO is really doing as best as I can to make sure that I'm supporting all of the projects that are building different verticals. We
Mm-hmm.
have no singular focus on one vertical versus the other vertical. We are focusing on games, we're focusing on AI, we're focusing on DeFi, we're focusing on a little bit of everything. And so, my job is to make sure that every single vertical, everybody's getting supported, no matter what, what category you're building in. And
Mm.
so um, it's really interesting because there's so many things going in so many different directions, and we're just doing the best we can to support the teams and make sure that their needs are met.
Great. So what's your expectation then?
Yeah,
And
so
what's
my
your
expectations,
vision
I think,
for?
yeah, so the expectations would be that mm, I definitely see that we're going to have quite a few more projects coming in this direction, especially since I spent quite a bit of time meeting with a lot of teams.
Mm-hmm.
I expect a very large boom of developers and users inside of or really in Asia. I think we spent a really solid amount of time and educating so many engineers and developers that so many have already told me is okay, let's go ahead and have a conversation later, and we'll see
Mm.
what we can do to make sure that we start building an AO, because this is really exciting stuff. So at this point, I'm thinking that AO is going to make quite a big breakthrough inside of Asia, whether it's China, Japan, even the Philippines, Vietnam, they're building as well. India's doing some amazing things. They've they've really put some heavy work into AO and Arweave in general. So I think
Mm.
as far as Asia goes, I think that's going to be one of the strongest places for Arweave in the AO ecosystem.
Right. That sounds good. Yeah, I think that's it. Like, thank you for your time, Patrick, and also your valuable insight today. I'm sure people are gonna love it. And please stay tuned for our next episode because we will have more guests lineup coming up.
Yeah,
Thank
no
you.
problem. Thank you.
Yeah. See you very soon.